Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara's in the background. And today we are doing the good and bad review on the Olamic Busker. This knife was sent to us by Floydian. And, man, what an awesome knife. We've been wanting to check this thing out for so long. This used to be Kara's Grail knife. And you know how, like, you have a Grail, but over time, you know, you start feeling like you're never going to get to check it out. You're never going to see it. You know, you kind of get over it. I feel like that's what happened. But at one time, this was her Grail knife. So now that we finally get it in hand, it's awesome to do, awesome to check out. And it's a pretty cool little knife. Now, it is a small, compact knife, but the beauty is that you can get a full grip on it. And I feel like that's a great thing when you have a small knife, because the worst part about a small knife is that it's small, and that it's small in the hand and not comfortable. This gives you a full grip because you can take advantage of this front choil area, which is awesome. So, Floydian, thank you for letting us check this thing out and a bunch of other knives from your collection. We appreciate it, brother. Thank you. So this knife is about 6 inches overall length with a 2.5-inch blade. Let's do a couple quick size comparisons. Here's the Spyderco Chaparral, which is a bit bigger. Here is the Ferrum Forge Mini Archbishop. And here is the Spyderco Techno 2, which is a perfect size comparison. So if you know the size of that knife, you know the size of this knife. And then here's another small one, but it is a little bit bigger. The Giant Mouse Ace Biblio. And I think that's about it. We don't need no more size comparisons. It's a small knife, small compact little knife with a sheep foot blade that I do really like the blade shape. It's pretty cool. It's an M390. This is all titanium. Now, the thing is, like, with this wood inlay, you can dress these up however you want. So if there's something you dislike about this specific one, you can change it. You can have it however you want it. They have a bunch, like, already pre-done that you can get that, you know, like with different versions, like basically like a different inlay, you know, maybe different colors, whatever. But, or you can order one to the way you want, which is really cool. Now, the blade on this, I did use this. I didn't use it hard or heavy or anything like that. It's not that type of knife. But Floydian told me to use the knives. Definitely use them, whatever I got to do for the review, which is awesome, because that is very important for a review, I feel like. You know, I don't want to sit here and just name stuff that you can already see. I want to be able to tell you the things from using it and how it performs. And for a little compact little knife, this thing actually performs pretty good. I mostly use the tip on this, which this thing does have a very strong blade. You can see it's a very strong tip, so, but I did do some other cutting with it as well, so it's not like I just used the tip, but yeah, it works great, especially in the hand, like just the ergos, but it's not like a knife that you're like, you're breaking down cardboard or anything with. This is the one you pull out, you do the cut, you put it back in your pocket, or you might use it as like a utility knife. But yeah, it works good. It kind of has all belly though. If you see, it's just all belly. So you can do good slicing with it. And I feel like my finger always wants to land up here when I'm like cutting. Now I can obviously go back here. I never really put my hand back here and used it, to be honest. But you know, you can, but it's only a 3-finger knife if you do that. But you creep up here, you can get a whole 4-finger grip, which is awesome. Let's talk about the action, because the action is basically like, it's amazing. That's one thing that's great about this knife. I mean, it is a top flipper. And you can middle finger flick it very easily. I mean, the middle finger flicking action, it's like when you're holding it, right where that hole is right where your middle finger lands anyways. So it feels so natural to middle finger flick this knife. It's very easy to do. Now, you can thumb flick it, but it's not as comfortable as the reverse flick or the middle finger flick, spidey flick, whatever you want to call it. You can also take your thumb and slow roll it. That's mainly the way I open it if I'm going to use my thumb, but I always middle finger flick it. It works so good and it feels so natural. Now the top flipper, at first I kind of had a little bit of issues with it. Not saying I couldn't do it because I could, but I kept slipping. But the problem was I kept trying to hit it from the top like this. And it works, but it's just I would slip a lot. Then I realized, no, man, you got to put your finger down a little bit. So once I got that down pat, now it actually feels really good. You want to make sure you're not putting no tension on the lock bar because you can lock yourself out. If you're pushing on this, you're not going to be able to top flip it that easy. So you want to make sure your fingers are back a little bit, you know, in a good place. And then it's very easy to do. You just hold down just a little bit with your thumb. Pow! It works really good. So the top flipping action on this is awesome. And yeah, I like it a lot, man. This thing is so fidgety. Now, the lock bar is very easy to get to. It does have a little cutout. And it feels, it's hard to explain, but it's a nice lock bar. It's a good lock bar, good tension, and it just feels good. Like, it feels like a good quality. It's easy to get to, easy access. Now, it does have the steel lock bar insert, if you can see it right there. And then you see the big old ceramic detent ball. Man, that's a big ceramic detent ball, isn't it? Very nice. Now, I'm going to show you some things I do really like about this knife. Now, one, look at that, the lockup. The lockup is nice and early. Very strong lockup, too. Like, seems like it's a rock solid. But when I turn it around, you can see the geometry, and then you see that it has a reverse detent track. So when you unlock it, and it hits the detent ball, it's very easy to push past. So if you do hit it, which you're not really hitting it too much, usually when you unlock it, it just falls right past, and you drop it. So it's not, I mean, it's pretty drop shutty. It only takes, because it's so small, it only really takes like one slap, and it's basically down there. And I love the sound of the detent. Very clicky. Nice and centered. But you see the stop pin in the closed position. I like where they put that rather than putting it up by the edge so that it didn't land right here. I like that they did it nice and low, where it's down here. And in the open position, it's the same stop pin. So it's the same stop pin for the closed and open position. Very nice. The backspacer is a floating backspacer, and it looks really good, and it feels good in the hand, too. It feels nice and good in the palm. Like, I feel like, yeah, it feels good in the palm. Now, the clip works fine. It's a ceramic ball clip. And yeah, it works great in and out of the pocket. I like that they did the lanyard hole secondary, so they thought about the clip first, which is nice. You can carry this fifth pocket if you want. And yeah, the clip works great. Now, I do feel like if you have really thick jeans, it might feel like you're bending it a little bit because it's kind of just straight. So, but whatever. Lots of hardware, especially for such a little knife. Now let's talk about some bad things. So, my biggest problem with this knife is the grind. It is not good. One, it's like 24 thousandths behind the edge, which wouldn't be bad if the blade stock wasn't so thick. So it's a thick blade stock, and the cutting geometry is just not there. It's not. It's you can cut with it. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't cut, but man, they could have. It's a small knife, right? It's not a big knife, so it needs a little bit better blade geometry, not hard use blade geometry. And that's basically what it has. It has more of a harder use blade geometry. But The choil right here, I wish they would have cut this out just a little bit more, because when you start sharpening, it's just going to bring the edge closer and closer and closer to your finger. I wish they would have just rounded this out right there a little bit. Not that big of a deal. I didn't sharpen it. I didn't use it enough to sharpen it, but I did use it a bunch, but it's M390. And, yeah. I mean, I'll strop it and hone it back before I send it back, but yeah, the edge is still great. The detent sounds so good. So, some other bad things. They are using T6s and a lot of them. That sucks. I just wish they would have used T8s, because there's so many of them. And when you go to take this thing apart, if you go to take this thing apart and maintenance it, hopefully you don't strip a screw. Hopefully they didn't use red Loctite. I didn't take it apart or anything, so I can't say whether or not they're using red Loctite or blue Loctite. But maybe you just don't want to take it apart too much. But if you do, you just want to be careful. Make sure you're using good hardware, or good tools. Your bits are really good when you take something like this apart. Plus, it's anodized titanium hardware, so you don't want to strip them out anyways. Because titanium is it titanium? I think it's titanium. I think it is titanium hardware, and if it's titanium hardware, you really want to be careful. Some titanium hardware is very soft, and is very easy to strip out. I'm not sure if that's the case with this. I think it's titanium hardware, though. So, I've seen good hardened titanium hardware where they're really strong, like Wii knives. Titanium hardware is really good, but I've also seen titanium hardware that's very soft. So, other bad things. No, not really. I mean, this jimping back here doesn't work because it's for just the opening. So once it's open, you can't really use it, but that's whatever. I love the finish on the handle. It's kind of like a Chris Reeve Sebenza on this one, but it's hard for me to just talk about that because there's so many different versions. The one you order might not be like this, so that's something that you can just do order yourself or however you want. Fantastic little knife, man. There's not very many bad things. I just wish the geometry was a little bit better. And yeah, super fidgety, super comfortable in the hand. It works good. And yeah, what a cool little knife. I do like this knife a lot. I seen Stasa23. He did a regrind on his. So he did a really thin grind to where he thinned this edge out real thin. I thought that was amazing. That's awesome. It just makes it work better. So, cool little knife, man. I'm normally not this kind of person that likes this type of grip, but with this little guy, man, it just works. My thumb does land right here on this point, but I can just go right over the top or right in the back. Very cool. Thanks, Floridian, for letting me check this thing out. And I love you guys.